There was an interesting statistic that I saw regarding sort of diversification in emerging versus developed economies. And I thought of that based on what you just said. I think on average, about 20% of people in emerging economies had a diversified portfolio, which was, them leveraging or sort of managing their risk, so to speak. But in developed economies was almost like 60% or something like that. So there's a difference there in understanding and calibrating risks, but also maybe your life circumstances dictate what kind of risks you're willing to take, right? If I lose this job, I don't have a support system. Maybe there's no social security or NHS system I can fall back on. So your level of risk is determined, I think, by yourself and your mitigating factors that you can control, but there's also some external factors that might influence that level of risk. Something else that I was thinking of was, there's a sort of myth that children can't understand finances, right? Which is trying to teach a 10-year-old or 11-year-old about financial literacy and, inflation or any of these types of things. It's almost sort of way beyond them or out of their reach. But some of my friends that I grew up in California or wherever it is, they are very successful because they've been taught these things since 9 or 10 years old, right?
Exactly.
Where do you think this myth of children
should be seen and not heard?
Yeah, something like
That's
that.
very Victorian.
But you know what I mean? Like they're not capable of learning these types of things, yet they can play the violin.
No, I think the 21st century now, the more that we can encourage our young people to learn, ask questions and to challenge, the better. I think the barrier lies with the elders not being able to say it or teach it in a way that makes it accessible to younger people, because that's a skill. But I think most people can understand it, So I think it's a way, finding ways of being able to teach that. For instance, off the thing, but linked to the whole thing of wealth is corruption. So let's say corruption, which is usually around money, backhanders, etc. I was in Nigeria and Uganda, and I was speaking about education for wealth. And we got onto this thing about corruption. I said, yes, I think we need to talk about that. You can teach children from primary school about ethics, about what it means to steal or do wrong or, bribing. And you can teach it. So once you lay those kind of fundamental frameworks and culture of how you do things differently, then you have a chance, so that people can make wealth for good. Because I think also our whole notion of money, for instance, I've come through sort of like the progressive political route. And within that, it's about the terrible capitalists and the good socialists. It's not quite like that, is it? It's not quite like that at all. So now that I'm an entrepreneur myself, I have my own business. It is about how do we invest and make money doing good, bringing the two together and actually making ethical decisions about what type of products we develop, which type of customer market segment are we targeting, what kind of impact are we seeking. So there is a way of being like a social entrepreneur.